Well, at the same time, there comes a point where you need to start looking at the customer, the business from the customer end, and whether they get an integrated service and so on. Is there kind of a focus in terms of defining your customers a lot more clearly?
Absolutely. You hit it, Daniel, on the head. You had to move from a product to a customer focus, which we did about 3 years back. Because the customer wants one-stop delivery. He wants convenience. He wants the cheapest, and yet he wants the best. More importantly, I want stickiness, and I want to have the ability to anticipate certain needs. So when he was going into a SAP conversion, we were doing the conversion along with him, so that we got integrated into his conversion, and we fed in just like a division. So not only, now today, every single customer in the bank, we know the profitability for. It is available for every person who deals with the customer. When I used to tell people, why don't you cross-sell? Now, if you walk into a branch and you say, somebody comes to cross-sell, and you already hold the gold card, and you say, do you want a gold card? And you say, what a stupid bank. He doesn't even know I hold a gold. The moment any person, any customer servicing person presses a button, your entire relationship comes, how you are to be priced, what are the products you have, and what are you supposed to be sold.
That being well said, is there a temptation now that you are clearly on the road of putting the customer proposition together, that you're sitting on so much CASA and you're under leveraged in that sense? There's always a temptation for your treasury people to come in and say, why don't we do something more with this? Why don't we move into markets, for example? And you've got all the different distribution points. You have access to the capital markets and so on. Is it a temptation, or is it something that you consciously avoid?
No. You see, what we have done is we avoid substantial position taking. But as far as dealing for the customers is concerned, we are one of the market leaders in foreign exchange derivatives, but that is customer based and finding a solution for the customer. We're not a major player in position based FX earnings.
Your treasury people, are they homegrown, or do you also go out and get good
they're
people?
from everywhere. They're from Citibank, they're from Bank of America, they're from Credit Suisse, they're from Deutsche, they're from State Bank.
In order to succeed in your bank, do they need to subscribe to a certain value system as a result?
Yeah, don't make a loss. I'm saying that facetiously, but the point is that you can bet some amount, but you don't bet the bank, and the growth rate of the bank is not based upon your earnings which are there. Daniel, the surprising part is, if you look at people like Deutsche and Citi and all of them, they'll be quoting at 0.8 times book because their earnings are so sexy that only they understand them. So the market is not giving you too much value for these earnings that you talk about. Please understand, it's very good discussing in a banking conference these earnings. But if the market doesn't understand the predictability of these earnings, you will not get a multiple on your stock.
But how do you keep the house in order? Of the different inflection points that you probably have as a CEO, you have your treasury guys, you have your product guys, you have your distribution guys, and you have the customer. How much time do you find that you have to spend on which of these elements to make sure that the house is in order?
See, the house will be in order through systems. I must get a report on an exception. So the treasury has limits in terms of how much earnings they can bet, what is the value at risk that they can take. The retail people have a probability of default. The operations people have to provide superlative service with a reduction in cost and turnaround time. So I spend more time. My maximum time is spent out in the market with the customers, because that's where the business is. Inside, I'm more on an exception basis. I am not the executor. I am the executor if you don't perform as per guidelines and as per systems. So we've got very clear systems, we've got very clear defined terms, we've got extremely good delegation. And my time is mainly with the customer, sitting, reviewing, setting the vision, jointly agreeing on strategy, and normally putting in position what we will do for the next 2 to 3 years.
How would you describe the organizational structure of HDFC Bank and the governance structure, the sense of accountability at the different layers of the management team, both in terms of ensuring risk management as well as in terms of just keeping up with the times and and taking risks and moving on?
See, there are 3 parts to it. One, when we talked about corporate governance, we realized that everybody and his brother knows what good corporate governance is. The question is, how do you institutionalize it? So we actually got a corporate governance audit conducted and a rating on corporate governance, which meant that we had to institutionalize what is the role of the board, what is the role of the managing director, what is the role of each person down the line, and what he can do and what he can't do. So there is not anything that he can deviate without getting his boss's signature. So the boss can't tell him, you do this. He says, sure, I'll do it. Can you give it to me in writing? Which means then it's the boss's neck on the line. So we institutionalize corporate governance. Same thing goes for risk. In a lot of organizations, you have the risk reporting to the business manager. Now, however much you may say that the business manager is professional, this, that, there is going to be some dilution of risk management, because to the business manager, his profit is what counts. That's where he's going to get his bonus from. So we've kept risk and marketing separate from day one. Similarly on operations, the operations also doesn't report to the business manager. So operations and risk actually reports to me, so that they have their independence. Yes, there are support functions, so in the process they shouldn't feel, and why it reports to me is they shouldn't end up in a situation where the marketing guys are constricted. They are support functions, but they are not throwaway functions. So each guy has a very clearly defined, and the culture within the bank is also very clearly defined. You will be customer focused. You will tell the customer what you deliver, and that's how we build up a plan. You will deliver it time and time again, and you will innovate along with the customer. No integrity issues will be tolerated. Any deviation from policy, you escalate, and there is a person who's authorized to approve.
Well, the model sounds very interesting and very convincing in a way, but doesn't that end up creating a structure where it's a kind of a divide and rule thing, where the CEO then becomes the most important orchestrator in that sense? So there's a lot more power in you, as there would be in another organization where the CEO allows committees to work together, for example.
Let me give you my point of view. When you hear the New York Philharmonic, how would you like 2 Zubin Mehtas conducting it?
You don't.
You don't like it, right? So the point is, each one has to have his job, but that doesn't mean you start mixing. So if you ask any other people reporting to me, they say one of the reasons they're working for the bank is because they have a freedom to do what they want. But that freedom does not imply that you will forget corporate objectives. That freedom doesn't imply that you will not work as a team. So my job is not to execute. My job is not to tell you what your job is. My job is to make sure that everybody is running to score a goal. Not us, the opposite team.
Give us a sense of the governance at the board level. What's the composition of your board, and what is the value that they provide you in terms of guidance, in terms of vision, in terms of mandate?
See, as far as the board is concerned, we have 2 people from HDFC. Our chairman is the ex-finance secretary of India, and he was also India's representative on the IMF. We have another board member who was the personal secretary to the Prime Minister. We have a person who's an expert in agriculture. We have a person who's in small scale. We have one of the most eminent chartered accountants, Bobby Parikh, who's been with all the multinational companies and knows what needs to be done. We have another chartered accountant who's been treasurer for some of the largest corporations in India. So it's a board that goes into detail. We present the budget to them. All policies are presented to them. All product programs are approved by them. Everything is discussed, and only after we all agree. And in our board meetings, all my management is present in all board meetings. So if corporate bank is presenting, I don't present it. corporate bank presents, but the head of corporate bank sits as an invitee on all board meetings. So the board is not dependent purely on what the CEO says. There's not so much vesting, and internal audit reports to the chairman. So it's a very open organization when there are 14 invited members from management on every board meeting, and they present and they talk, so there is nothing hidden and everything is discussed. We can go back and take further guidance from them. So the plan is approved by them, the HR policies are approved by them, product programs are approved by them, and then there's periodic review.